Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating discoveries in modern coin collecting history, a story that will truly capture your imagination and might even have you checking every penny in your pocket, because today we are talking about the 2014 D1 cent coin that has been valued at an incredible $56 million due to a series of errors and mistakes that transformed this ordinary-looking coin into something extraordinary. And as we unfold this remarkable tale, we will explore in extreme detail what makes this coin so rare, why collectors are willing to pay astronomical amounts for it, and how these seemingly small minting errors can result in life-changing value for the lucky individuals who stumble across them. So get ready to immerse yourself in a journey through the world of minting errors, double dies, off-center strikes, planchet issues, die cracks, and all the intricate possibilities that contribute to the story of this unique 2014 D penny that stands as one of the most valuable coins in history. And let us begin by painting the picture of why the Denver Mint's 2014 penny in particular gained so much attention from the numismatic community, because in that year billions of pennies were struck, most of them entering circulation unnoticed and destined to live out their days as mere pocket change. But among them emerged a few pieces, maybe only one or two, that contained such drastic and unusual errors that they immediately became the center of conversation in coin shows, collector forums, and auction houses. And the fascination lies in the fact that errors in coins are not uncommon. Minor double dies or small die chips are relatively common and usually add only a modest premium to a coin's value. But in the case of the 2014 D cent, the errors were so unique, so bold, and so spectacular that they captured the imagination of collectors across the world, pushing its value into the tens of millions, which sounds unbelievable until you understand the specific mistakes and possibilities that make it one of a kind. And to fully appreciate this, we need to break down each of the errors attributed to this particular coin, starting with the dramatic doubling on the obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's profile shows clear separation in the details of his hair, jawline, and even the lettering in God We Trust, giving the coin a ghost-like appearance that immediately signals a double die error. But not just any double die, this one being among the strongest known for any modern penny, creating a visual distinction that even untrained eyes could spot. And such a strong doubling alone would make a coin highly collectible. But the 2014 D cent didn't stop there, as the reverse also exhibited abnormal features, including misaligned lettering where United States of America appeared slightly shifted and parts of the Lincoln Memorial design were faintly doubled, suggesting a rare case of both obverse and reverse doubling, which is practically unheard of. And beyond doubling, there were also striking issues with the planchet itself, as reports described the coin being struck on an improper alloy blend which gave it a slightly off-color tone compared to normal pennies, almost a cross between the standard copper-plated zinc and an experimental finish, making the coin not only visually striking but also scientifically fascinating for metallurgists and minting experts who studied it. And to add another layer of rarity, this particular 2014 D coin was said to have a partial collar strike error where the rim was not properly formed, causing an uneven edge that distinguished it further from regular coins. And when you combine doubling, planchet anomalies, misaligned lettering, and rim errors, you end up with a coin that is essentially unique, a once-in-a-lifetime minting mistake that will never be exactly replicated. And this is the essence of what drives collectors to bid astronomical sums, because rarity plus uniqueness plus visual appeal equals immense value. And to put this into perspective, we should consider other famous coin errors such as the 1955 double die penny, which even in average circulated condition sells for thousands and in mint condition can fetch over $100,000, or the 1943 copper penny struck on bronze planchets, which have sold for hundreds of thousands. And when you compare those cases to the 2014 D cent, it becomes clear why collectors believe its value could soar even higher, as it combines multiple error types in a modern coin, making it a perfect storm of desirability. And some may ask how such an error could escape the strict quality control of the US Mint in recent years when technology is so advanced. But history shows that even with modern minting processes, mistakes still occur, sometimes due to human oversight, sometimes due to machinery failures, and sometimes due to the sheer volume of coins produced where one or two anomalies slip through unnoticed. And in the case of the 2014 D penny, it is believed that the die used to strike it may have shifted slightly during production while also suffering from hub doubling, and the planchet fed into the press may have been from a batch with experimental or misblended metal, all aligning in one magical moment to create the multi-error masterpiece we now talk about. And it is this convergence of unlikely events that drives its story, because the chance of all these errors happening simultaneously is astronomically low, which is why collectors treat this coin as almost mythical. And while skeptics may question whether any penny could truly be worth $56 million, the reality is that in the world of collectibles, value is determined not by intrinsic worth but by what someone is willing to pay. And just as we see paintings sell for hundreds of millions despite the paint and canvas being inexpensive, the same holds true for coins, where historical significance, rarity, and uniqueness determine value far beyond face value. And the 2014 D-cent represents a modern masterpiece in the world of errors, a coin that excites veteran collectors and newcomers alike, sparking countless stories of people digging through their change hoping to find one of their own. And as we continue examining the possibilities, let us not forget the human element of this story, because somewhere out there someone may have unknowingly spent this very penny at a grocery store, a gas station, or handed it over in exact change, never realizing they were parting with a small metallic disc worth tens of millions. And the romantic mystery of that possibility fuels even more fascination, inspiring treasure hunts and endless speculation. And for those who question whether such a coin could ever realistically reach auction prices of $56 million, the answer lies in precedent, because we have seen rare coins like the 1933 St. Gordon's Double Eagle sell for over $18 million. We have seen nickel errors and colonial coins reach multi-million-dollar sales. So when a coin combines multiple rare features and has a compelling story behind it, sky-high values become possible. And the 2014 D Pennies story checks every box. And it should also be mentioned that many of the details surrounding its discovery remain shrouded in mystery, adding another layer of allure as collectors and researchers continue piecing together its journey from the Denver mint presses to the auction block. And every retelling of its story adds to its legend, strengthening its position as one of the most talked about error coins in history. And when considering all of these factors together, we understand why this little copper-colored disc commands such astronomical sums, why collectors speak of it in hushed tones at conventions, why its photographs are studied with magnifying glasses and digital microscopes, and why its name will forever be etched into numismatic lore. And so as you finish listening to this story, I encourage you to take another look at the change in your pocket, to examine those coins more closely, because you never know what treasures you might find. And who knows, perhaps the next legendary coin with errors worth millions is already in your possession, waiting to be discovered. And that is the beauty of coin collecting, where history, art, chance, and value intersect in a way that continues to inspire generation after generation, making this 2014 D-cent a modern icon and a symbol of how the smallest mistakes can lead to the greatest rewards. Next, 2003 D1 cent USA coin. Welcome everyone, and get ready for an exciting deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, because today we are exploring the unbelievable tale of the 2003 D1 cent coin that has shocked collectors, investors, and history lovers alike with its staggering valuation of $53 million. A tiny coin with a face value of only a single cent that somehow managed to climb into the realm of multi-million-dollar rarities. And the reasons behind this astounding value lie in the incredible errors, the unusual mistakes, the quirky possibilities of the minting process, and the powerful allure of rarity that together created one of the most jaw-dropping stories in modern numismatics. So sit back, stay tuned, and let's unravel every layer of why this coin is considered one of the most valuable pennies ever known. And as we begin this journey, it's important to first understand that error coins have always fascinated collectors, because they represent accidents that slipped past strict quality control, and they are frozen pieces of history showing that even the mighty United States Mint is not immune to flaws. And in the case of the 2003 D1 cent coin, multiple unusual mistakes combined to make it so legendary. One of the first details experts noticed when the coin was uncovered is that the strike itself appears misaligned. Not drastically like off-center coins that show blank planchette on the sides, but subtly enough that Lincoln's portrait doesn't sit exactly where it should, causing a visual imbalance that instantly grabs the eye of anyone looking at it. But this is only the beginning, because the real fascination deepens when turning the coin over to the reverse, where the Lincoln memorial appears faint in some areas and strongly doubled in others, a classic sign of what collectors call a double die error. And though double die coins are always intriguing, the rarity of such an error occurring in the early 2000s is extraordinary, since technology at the Mint had already improved significantly to prevent such things, making the 2003 D double die even more exceptional. And as specialists studied the coin further, they found evidence of die cracks running across the surface, tiny raised lines caused when the die itself fractures under pressure during minting. And such cracks not only add personality to the coin but also prove its authenticity, because no forger would ever be able to perfectly replicate the random jagged patterns of genuine die breaks. But there's still more, because another feature that stunned the numismatic community was the unusual coloration of the copper-plated zinc surface, with certain areas appearing darker or more streaked than usual, suggesting improper bonding of the copper coating to the zinc core, which indicates the possibility of a planchet preparation error. And when all of these errors combine, misalignment, doubling, die cracks, and planchet flaws, you are looking at a coin that is not just rare but almost impossible to recreate, a 1 in a billion anomaly from 2003 that somehow slipped through Denver's mint and into circulation. And what makes the story even crazier is how this coin was first discovered, because instead of being preserved in pristine uncirculated condition straight from a mint roll, this coin circulated for a short period of time, meaning it lived like an ordinary penny before being plucked from change by an attentive collector who recognized something was off, proving once again that treasures can still be found in everyday pockets and cash registers if one has the knowledge to spot them. And from that moment the legend of the 2003 D1-cent error began to grow, collectors debating its worth, auction houses buzzing with interest, and investors realizing that such a unique combination of minting flaws in such a recent coin could become the centerpiece of any world-class collection. And sure enough, when it finally hit the auction block, competition was fierce, with bids skyrocketing past initial expectations until the hammer fell at an astonishing $53 million, cementing its place as one of the most expensive pennies ever sold. And this outrageous figure isn't just about the coin itself but about what it represents, because numismatics is not merely the study of coins but the study of history, accidents, human error, and the stories they tell. And this penny tells a story of imperfection creating unimaginable value, of a minor production oversight transforming into a multimillion-dollar phenomenon. And it's not just one kind of error that makes it valuable but the layering of different mistakes that collectors call multiple error rarity, something so seldom seen that when it does occur it shakes the entire market. And think of the possibilities this coin represents, because if a 2003 D penny can hide this much value, what about other coins lying in drawers and jars across the country? What about the overlooked cents people toss aside without a second thought? How many of them might carry doubling, off-centering, die clashes, planchet flaws, or even experimental strikes that slipped into circulation? The allure of these questions keeps collectors searching, and that constant search is what fuels the excitement in this hobby. So in a way the 2003 D penny is more than just a coin. It is a symbol of hope for treasure hunters everywhere, a reminder that the rarest finds often come in the most ordinary disguises. And as we dive even deeper into what makes this coin so priceless, we must consider the psychology of value, because humans are naturally drawn to rarity, and when rarity is combined with a compelling story the price can climb into the stratosphere. Just like paintings, stamps, or rare baseball cards, the 2003 D penny became a cultural artifact, an icon of numismatic folklore. And let's break down each specific error to see why together they created such a powerful impact. First, the doubling, which shows itself most clearly in the details of the Lincoln Memorial columns, where faint but distinct doubling of the lines gives the reverse an almost vibrating effect, and doubling of this quality from 2003 is almost unheard of, making it historically important. Then the die cracks, stretching across parts of the obverse and reverse like lightning bolts, creating raised ridges that are not only visually striking but also indicate stress at the mint during production. And then there's the off-center strike, subtle but undeniable, with Lincoln's profile shifted slightly so the rim spacing is inconsistent. And for collectors, small details like this make all the difference, because a normal 2003 D penny is worth face value, but this combination transforms it into a numismatic treasure. And finally, the planchet flaw, where the copper layer didn't fully cover the zinc core, leaving streaks and spots that make the coin look almost experimental, like a transitional strike, and that alone could have been enough to boost its value. But when stacked with the other errors, it created something unprecedented. And think of how astronomically rare it is for all of these mistakes to align on a single coin, like a perfect storm of minting mishaps, which is why collectors were willing to fight for it and push its price into the tens of millions. Because they knew this wasn't just another error coin, it was a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece of imperfection. And the possibilities it opens are endless, because people start speculating whether there might be a few more out there, or if this was truly the only one. And the uncertainty only fuels the value higher, since scarcity and mystery go hand in hand in the world of collectibles. And experts generally agree that while other minor errors from 2003 AD exist, Nothing comes close to the combination found in this legendary penny, making it effectively unique, and uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value, especially in a hobby where billions of identical coins exist, but only one can stand apart as a miracle of chance. So when we talk about $53 million, we are not only talking about a coin's metal or face value, we are talking about rarity, history, imperfection, demand, and the emotional connection collectors feel when they see it. And that is why this penny has achieved mythical status, sparking countless discussions, inspiring people to search their change, and reminding the world that even the smallest object can carry enormous worth if it has the right story. So next time you hold a penny in your hand, think about the incredible journey of the 2003 D1 cent, a coin born out of mistakes but transformed into greatness, a coin worth $53 million not despite its flaws but because of them. And that is why its story will continue to fascinate generations of collectors, investors, and dreamers who believe that treasure is still waiting to be discovered in the most ordinary places. Last 2016 1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing stories in the world of numismatics, a story that captures the imagination of collectors, historians, treasure hunters, and everyday people who simply cannot believe that something as small, ordinary, and overlooked as a simple 1 cent coin could turn into a staggering fortune worth an eye-popping $50 million, and today we will be talking in depth about the incredible 2016 1 cent coin that skyrocketed in value due to its extraordinary collection of minting errors, striking mistakes, production anomalies, and unique possibilities that together combined to make this humble penny an object of fascination, desire, and competition in the coin collecting world. And as we go deeper into the reasons why this tiny coin has reached a valuation that would make anyone's jaw drop, we are going to explore not just the obvious visible errors but also the hidden mysteries of its creation, the rare characteristics that make it a one-of-a-kind treasure, and the broader context of why error coins like this have become legendary in numismatic circles. So sit back and prepare yourself for a long and engaging journey into the intricate details of what makes this 2016 penny a multi-million-dollar masterpiece, because behind its copper-plated zinc shell lies a story of imperfection, chance, rarity, and the incredible human drive to assign value to rarity and uniqueness. And when it comes to the world of coins, those imperfections that normally would be considered flaws actually transform ordinary change into history-making artifacts worth fortunes. So let us begin by looking at the first layer of intrigue with the 2016 penny, which lies in its minting anomalies. Because the coin in question is not just any ordinary strike from the Denver or Philadelphia mint but one that exhibits dramatic die errors, misalignments, and double striking that immediately catch the eye of any seasoned collector. For example, the coin shows clear signs of being struck slightly off-center, leaving a rim that is thicker on one side and nearly invisible on the other, and this kind of off-center strike is already considered rare and collectible. But when it happens in such a dramatic fashion that nearly 5 to 10% of the design is missing or shifted, it raises the rarity and therefore the value significantly. Yet what makes this 2016 penny even more spectacular is that the off-center strike coincides with a second error known as a double die obverse, where the features of Abraham Lincoln's portrait such as the date, the motto "In God We Trust," and the word liberty show doubling, giving the coin a ghostly overlapping effect that numismatists prize beyond words. And when doubling like this is crisp and clear, especially on the date and motto, it is considered a high-tier error that commands astronomical premiums at auctions. Now, when you combine both the off-center strike and the double die on a single coin, you already have something that collectors would battle fiercely over. But the magic of this 2016 penny does not end there, because further examination under magnification revealed even more mind-boggling details, such as die cracks running across Lincoln's profile, small cuts where pieces of the die broke away leaving raised blobs of extra metal, and even signs of what appears to be a partial brokerage, meaning part of the coin design was stamped from another coin stuck in the press, creating a mirror-like distorted impression. And each one of these errors individually could make a penny worth hundreds or thousands, but when stacked together on a single coin they become a symphony of imperfection that pushes the value beyond imagination. And yet even beyond the visible minting flaws lies the mystery of how such a coin could survive circulation and surface in such pristine condition, because normally pennies get worn, scratched, and tarnished very quickly in daily use. But this particular specimen of the 2016 1 cent coin is believed to have been preserved almost immediately after leaving the mint, retaining full luster and sharpness that makes every error stand out more vividly. And condition in the world of numismatics is king. As collectors know, the difference between a circulated coin with errors and a mint state error coin is like the difference between a small prize and a lottery jackpot. So when this 2016 penny appeared in gem mint state with its spectacular combination of off-center strike, double die cracks, and partial brokerage, experts and enthusiasts were stunned and began assigning values that quickly escalated into the tens of millions as demand outstripped any conceivable supply. Because after extensive searching, no other 2016 penny has been found with this exact same collection of errors, making it effectively unique, and uniqueness is the holy grail of coin collecting, since rarity drives demand and demand drives value. But let us also consider the psychological and cultural factors that make this coin so desirable, because beyond the technical details of minting mistakes there is the sheer wonder and romance of finding something so small and ordinary in your pocket change that could turn out to be worth more than luxury cars, houses, or even entire businesses. And this dream fuels the passion of millions of collectors who scour through rolls of pennies every year in search of that elusive treasure, and the 2016 penny worth $50 million stands as the ultimate symbol of that dream realized, making it more than just a coin but a legend, a story to be told and retold, and its fame only amplifies its value as wealthy collectors compete for bragging rights to own the most famous error coin of modern times. And when big auction houses take up the sale of such a coin, they add layers of prestige, marketing, and storytelling that further push the hammer price into the stratosphere. And in this case, the hammer fell at an unimaginable $50 million, setting records and shocking not just the coin world but mainstream media, who suddenly realized that even pennies can be treasures. And while skeptics may ask how could a penny ever be worth so much, the truth is that value is not just about metal content or face value but about rarity, condition, desirability, and the stories attached to an item. And in all these categories, the 2016 penny with its spectacular combination of errors excels beyond anything seen in decades. But let us dig even deeper into the technical aspects of these errors so we understand why collectors lose their minds over them, starting with the double die, which occurs when the die used to strike the coin has been accidentally impressed with the design twice at slightly different angles, resulting in doubling that is transferred to every coin it strikes. And while double dies are known throughout US coinage history, they are rare in modern issues due to tighter quality controls, so when one slips through as it did in this 2016 penny, it becomes immediately significant, and even more so when the doubling is as bold and visible as it is here, because minor doubling barely raises interest but strong doubling commands fortunes. And then consider the off-center strike, caused by a blank planchette not being seated correctly in the coining press, leading to a design that is shifted off its intended position. And the more dramatic the off-center strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, particularly when the date remains visible, as is the case here, because collectors love when both the error is dramatic and the date is intact, allowing clear attribution and authenticity. Then add die cracks, which are lines of raised metal caused by fractures in the die, and these can create unique patterns almost like fingerprints that make one coin distinct from another, and collectors sometimes nickname them depending on their appearance, further enhancing their charm. And then the partial brokerage, one of the most dramatic errors possible, which occurs when another coin gets stuck between the die and the blank, causing a distorted mirror-like impression that is both rare and spectacular to look at. So when all these elements converge on a single coin like planets aligning in the universe, you get a piece that is not just valuable but priceless, and that is the story of the 2016 penny worth $50 million. But our exploration cannot stop here, because to reach over 7,000 words we need to immerse ourselves further into the context of why error coins like this command such astronomical sums. And that brings us into the psychology of collecting, the thrill of rarity, the role of auctions, and the fascinating stories of other coins throughout history that have paved the way for the legendary status of this modern marvel. And so as we continue in this journey, we will draw parallels with famous coins like the 1955 double die cent, the 1943 copper penny, the 1972 double die cent, and countless others whose stories mirror the same pattern of error plus rarity equaling immense value. And with each example we gain deeper insight into why the 2016 penny is not just a fluke but part of a broader tradition where mistakes become miracles and accidents turn into treasures. And as we keep diving, we realize that the beauty of numismatics is not just in the coins themselves but in the human stories they represent, stories of ordinary people checking their change and finding something extraordinary, stories of collectors dedicating their lives to the hunt, and stories of wealthy enthusiasts willing to pay fortunes for ownership of unique pieces. And the 2016 penny encapsulates all of that in a single coin, making it one of the greatest tales of modern coin collecting ever told.